Trump looking straight at the eclipse was one of the funniest things I've ever seen. Him looking at the eclipse without the eclipse glasses, staring at it with his 2 eyes, was funny as fuck. It was hysterical. It was so funny.
She wants it, she needs to get it. Her name is Rayyvana.
I can say, as someone who worked in immigration law while Biden was the president, no, we did not make a difference. Deportations are, still very high. We were not accepting asylum seekers. We kept in place until last month, Title 42. I specifically was working with asylum seekers. They didn't undo any of the executive orders that Trump put in place and any of the reorganizing of the Department of Homeland Security that immigration, asylum seekers specifically, but people applying for immigration. They up, they mucked it up so bad. It's irreparable. I mean, it's not. It could be fixed, but it's a daunting task how much they fucked it. There's no order. It's not now you apply and then your application is reviewed in any order. There's no order. There's no order. You have no idea when you're going to get called for your hearing. No clue. The woman I was working with in 2020 still hasn't been called for her hearing. It'll take years to fix. I'm sure it'll take years to fix. It'd just be nice to know they were doing anything to fix it. You know, it's fucked. Prisons house a lot of asylum seekers. It's actually better for the asylum seekers to be housed in a prison than it is to be held in a detention center, an immigration detention center. And I'll tell you why it's better. It's better because there's oversight. There is oversight to prisons. They have to give inmates access to their attorneys, and in turn, they have to give immigrants access to their attorneys. When it comes to the detention centers, there's fuck all for oversight. There's no fucking oversight. So lawyers literally cannot access their clients. They're getting turned away at the door. They're making appointments, and then the detention centers are breaking them. They're not giving any sort of information. You can't launch a civil rights lawsuit if you have no access to your attorney, is what I'm saying. But at the prisons, there is at least in place a mechanism through which you can access your attorney, which is why a lot of immigration attorneys will tell you it's easier to access your client and therefore marginally better for them to be placed in a prison as opposed to a detention center. When conservatives get control of something they hate, obviously the ideal is neither. The ideal is you let them go. The ideal is that they're not detained at all. One better or one worse than that, but better than what is housing them in hotels or apartment complexes. The ideal, though, is you let them go. You let them go. That's the ideal. Asylum seekers come here because they have green cards, are usually not housed in these kinds of detention centers. But, obviously I'm not advocating for immigrants to be held in any sort of detention center. Would be great for us not to do that. I don't want them to be held in prisons. I'm just saying the abysmal reality is it's marginally better. Not enough people are talking about Biden's inaction on the border. The Republicans are talking about, oh, they opened the border. Kamala's out there talking about do not come as she's popping another Xanax. Do not come. Do not come. But no one's really talking about the Biden administration has done fuck all to improve our immigration system in this country. They've kept in place Trump-era policies. They've kept in place Trump-era restructuring of the Department of Homeland Security, which, by the way, immigration shouldn't even fall under the umbrella of. The Department of Homeland Security shouldn't exist at all. It should be abolished. And there is support for that from the people who work there, if that tells you something about how fucked up it is. Kamala sounding like the most apathetic femdom in the dungeon. Do not come. Do not come. Dude, Kamala Harris is so zanned out. She's barred out all the time. I almost feel bad for her, but then I remember that I don't like her. But her life is low-key kind of sad. She knows she's never going to be president of the United States. She's obviously seen their internal polling numbers. you know, if unless Joe Biden literally dies, she will never be the president of the United States. Department of Homeland Security must continue to exist in order to protect all gnome kind. They did dump immigration on her because they knew that Joe Biden could never, he needed to poll at a certain percentage, and they didn't want to dump things that were going to impact his polling on him. So they dumped it on her, and they sent her out there, again, barred out of her mind, and told her to just tell them not to come here. They said, go out there and, I don't know, tell them not to show up. The state of politics right now is so abysmal. There's nothing to be excited about. There's absolutely fucking nothing to be excited about. The only like upside to everything right now is that the Republicans are literally just running a fascist campaign that's really not appealing to the people they need to appeal to get out the vote. Like, and they're not focusing on the popular issues. They're like tripling, quadrupling down on like, we hate wokeness and trans people are pedophiles. And instead of actually, I don't know, talking about the economy, I moved to Canada if Kamala/Pete wins election. Canada's got Trudeau. They've got what's his name's son, Fidel Castro's son, Justin Trudeau. If there's one conspiracy, I believe it's that Fidel Castro's son is Justin Trudeau. I believe that. I'm sorry. I'm buying in. I'm drinking the Kool-Aid. I think it's true, and I think it's cool. Marianne Williamson is never going to be the president of the United States. Neither is RFK Jr., for anyone who is wondering. Cornel West also definitely never going to be the president of the United States. And like, I don't know, I'm not like happy that Marianne Williamson or Cornel West is never going to be the president. I just think that we all need to wake up and smell the fucking coffee and admit it, that it's not happening. We need to stop like lusting after candidates who we love and settle for candidates who are fine. Like, I don't know. I'm not even talking about Biden. I think Biden sucks shit. There's someone, though, who could run and win. And Marianne Williamson isn't even somebody I love. I just think we need to be realistic about the electoral reality. And the electoral reality right now is, I'm sorry that Joe Biden is probably the only candidate that is going to be nominated for the Democratic Party. Like, realistically, no one else is going to run and beat him. He's the incumbent president. Like, it sucks, but the Democrats are going to run him no matter what. He could lose the primary. They're going to run him. So we look at House races. We look at Senate races. And we sit on it for 4 years because that's all we can do. And it sucks. And it's terrible. And it sucks. But it's the world in which we live. And I think that sometimes progressives need to, and leftists, we need to wake up. All right. Like, it'd be cool if there was going to be a communist revolution tomorrow. It's not happening. So what changes can we look at that are realistic? Realistically, no one's going to primary Biden from the left and get the Democratic nomination. It's not going to happen. So we look at getting back the House, and we look at expanding our lead, or our lead in the Senate. That's what you do. You take the little victories when you realize that the big ones are out of reach, and it sucks. Anything short of Biden dying, he's going to be the president, or he's going to be the candidate. I don't know if he can win, but I think that if they run Trump again, I think that Biden can win. And at that point, you just have to go down ballot, and you have to look at the other races, and local too. I mean, look at the small victories. We elected Brandon Johnson here in the city of Chicago. That was huge. He was polling at 3%. He shouldn't be the mayor, and he is. And that is a fantastic victory. And it's because of tireless activists that worked hard on the ground in the city, door knocking for Brandon, giving all their free time to Brandon. That, let's go, Brandon. This motherfucker is the mayor of Chicago, and he has, the opportunity before him to be the most transformative mayor in Chicago's history. And we did it. And that's a huge victory. And that is a huge sign of positive change. But we need more of that. And I think we need to, accept that right now, maybe national politics isn't going to go our way. And we need to focus on the local, the municipal, the state elections that are within our grasp, or we look down ballot and we go to the House races that we can win and the seats that are vulnerable, and we work from there. But right now, I don't think that the White House is necessarily an achievable prospect for 2024 for people, who are on the left, and that sucks. But why waste our energy on something that's out of our reach and beyond our ability to affect change? And then we look at the other places where power is held and we hit those. I mean, for the love of God, Brandon Johnson should not be the mayor of Chicago, and he won. It wasn't even close, and he won. He was polling at 3% when he got in the race. He shouldn't be the mayor today, and he is because of the efforts of activist groups within the city of Chicago. I'm saying that you can affect change, and it doesn't have to be the presidency. In fact, I'd say that it'd be more effective to work through Congress. And no matter who we elect president, I don't think that just getting someone who's marginally better than Joe Biden is what's going to change whether or not, and especially considering nobody's running who can beat him, means that we have to sit back and accept the catastrophic effects of climate change. I think that that's it's not either or. I don't think we have to pretend that it is. I'm saying that the only elected office that's going to be up for re-election in 2024 is not the president. There's plenty of positions that every single member of the House of Representatives is going to have to run. It will be easier to beat all the corporatists in the House and Senate than in the White House. Yes. Yes. It's easier to, first of all, we could elect Bernie Sanders to the White House, and he's not going to be able to overcome all the corporatists in the House and in the Senate that he would need to make the change that you're talking about. Realistically, I think that sometimes you need to say, fuck this, and align yourself with radical activist groups on the ground who are actually doing the work, who are actually, perpetuating change. And I'm sorry, there's not, Marianne Williamson, God bless her, is not going to be the president of the United States. Like, get real. Get real. It sucks, but I'm sorry. She's not going to be the fucking president. Food Not Bombs, wonderful organization. Marianne Williamson is not going to be the president of the United States. Don't waste time and money supporting a campaign that's going nowhere. Cornel West is not going to be the president of the United States, especially not running under the People's Party. Get real. There are activist groups than Trump. I don't think Trump beats Biden. I'm sorry. I don't think Trump beats Biden. I think that people hate Trump more than they hate Biden. I don't think that Trump beats Biden. I'd rather Trump than Biden. That's insane. What I'm saying is, here in the city of Chicago, why did Brandon Johnson win that election? Because activist groups came together to support his candidacy, and he beat all the odds because of a groundswell of support by grassroots organizations. It's hard to transition that into a national race like the presidency. It's a lot easier to mobilize those groups to support a candidate for local, state, or even a House candidate. It's significantly easier to challenge by doing that. It's rigged, so why debate? I won't follow the Democratic populist vote again. It was a mistake to put Biden in power. I'm sorry, but first of all, I highly doubt that she's polling at 10 or 11%. So I'll say that. Second of all, a municipal election is a lot different than a national election, which is the point I was just making, which is why Brandon Johnson was able to become the mayor. And is the same reason why Marianne Williamson is not going to become the fucking president of the United States. Aside from the fact that you're going up against the Democratic Party apparatus, which is never going to nominate her. Like, I don't know what to she's not going to get the nomination. I have no problem with her running as an issues candidate. I have no problem with her participating in debates. I have no problem with her raising issues and keeping, Biden honest on leftist issues. I don't have a problem with that. I have a problem with people setting their expectations at a ridiculous level to the point where they think she's going to be the president. She's not going to be the president. I don't think she thinks she's going to be the president. Get real. There are better ways to spend your time and money that would have a real world impact than working on a campaign that's going nowhere. Sorry. I feel strongly about this. I'm tired of watching people send money. Like, Cenk ran for Congress. God bless him. He was never gonna win. And to see people send their money to the campaign sucked. Cenk is my boss. I love Cenk. He was never gonna win. And it sucked seeing, people have limited income and limited resources. I would rather them donate their time and their money to a cause that stands a chance. Local issues, smaller races. And like, I think a lot of people in this sphere have a distorted view of how politics works because they're consuming it at a different level than the average person is. Most people don't know who Marianne Williamson is. Most people don't know she's running for president. You do because you live in this space. I do because I'm a depraved individual who's obsessed with politics. My mom had never heard of Marianne Williamson, and I'm her daughter, and I do this for a living. My mom didn't know who that lady was. I'm just saying. I just found out 2 minutes ago that Marianne Williamson was running. I'm just saying, like, if she wants to be an issues candidate, that's great. I have to vote my values, not just because they might win. That is the problem that has gotten us where we are. We need to break that. So I will spread her name because there is plenty of time. Go ahead. I'm not telling you shouldn't do it. I'm just saying she's not going to become the president. And voting your values is great, but sometimes we have to accept that the lesser of two evils is still the lesser of two evils. And I would rather have less evil than evil. I don't know what to say. I think that the idea, like, it's a shitty situation. It sucks shit. But again, I would rather have it suck shit a little less than fully suck shit. If someone offered you the option to be stabbed every day or to be poked every day, you're going to take being poked every day because it's going to suck, but it's not going to suck as much as getting stabbed every day. There are things that you just got to suck it up and you got to do it, and it's going to suck, but you got to do it depending on where you live. Where I live, it doesn't fucking matter. As far as the national elections go, the Democrats always going to win in my district for every national race. But when it comes to the person who represents me as my alderwoman, she's DSA. She's a socialist. And that's because of people on the ground working to get her elected. That's where I can make a difference. And it does make a difference to have a progressive mayor in the city and to have a progressive, makeup of our aldermen and women. It makes a difference. You can make a difference. Sometimes you just have to look beyond national politics. I think that one of the big issues the left has is that they don't look beyond national politics. There is so much change you can make at a smaller scale where you can actually make a fucking difference. I got on my soapbox because I had a glass of wine. I'm sorry, but I feel strongly about this. Red or white? It's Chardonnay. Thanks for asking. I'm not saying I like the Democratic Party. I hate the Democratic Party. I despise the Democratic Party. I hate Joe Biden. I just was railing against Joe Biden for the first, the past 20 minutes before I started talking about this. I was railing against Joe Biden. I voted for who would win my whole life, just not anymore. Now my older age, Ella, but I get that her purpose might be something other than presidency, especially in 2024. Yeah, I'm not trying to be disrespectful or anything. I understand your position, and I have no issues with someone running as a position, you're running for issues. You're running to keep Biden honest on leftist issues. I respect that. I fully support that. I wish Cornel West had run as a Democrat so that he could do that, because I think he has a lot more institutional respect and a lot more name recognition than Marianne Williamson. I think that he would be better positioned to do that in this race, but instead he fucking, hitched his horse to the People's Party wagon, which I just can't even believe he did, which is frustrating. I think that he could be the president someday. I'll say that. I think Cornel West could be the president. I don't know if he could get the nomination in this election, but I think that he would be better positioned than anyone else who's running. And I'm really, really, really disappointed that he's running under the People's Party, because he has an opportunity to actually make a fucking difference. And he's wasting it, and he's not even going to get on the ballot in most places, and it sucks. And it fucking sucks. And I'm disappointed. I'm really disappointed. And I think that he has just too much goodwill for the people around him, and he's been sucked into something that is perverse and evil. And I'm not afraid to say that. The Nick Brana is a sex predator. Nick Brana created the People's Party to molest women. Nick Brana is a freak and a creep. And it sucks that Cornel West would associate with somebody like that. It's disappointing. It's a fucking sexual predator. If third parties want to be taken seriously, they need to run to take over one of the many. I mean, look at the Working Families Party. DSA here in Chicago, wildly successful. Wildly successful here in Chicago, DSA. You can run on the ticket as of the Working Families Party and the Democratic Party. There, you can support third parties while also running in a race where you're more likely to be, you know, an actual threat in the primary. It just sucks that 30 years later, The Simpsons has never been more right about Kudos and Kang. It sucks. It fucking sucks. I hate the two-party system, but I also think that the way to change that is through legislation that hasn't been passed yet. If we want to get out of the two-party system, it happens through legislation. It happens through states having ranked choice voting. It happens through campaign finance reform. That's how it happens. It doesn't happen just because somebody runs as a third-party candidate. That's not how that change is going to be affected, in my professional opinion. Someone who does this for a living. Where do we see third-party candidates being the most successful? Ranked choice voting. How do other countries have this model? How does it work around the world? And what is different about America? It's our campaign finance laws, which are draconian and corporatized through the teeth. And it's through the way that we vote. 30 flavors of ice cream and 2 political parties, this damn country. As you can tell, I've been thinking about this a lot lately, and I've been pissed. I've been very angry thinking about this recently. Also, I just want to be clear. I wasn't upset with any of you. I wasn't trying to be insulting with any of you except for the person who said that Trump is better than Biden, because that's nuts, and you're nuts for saying that, and you're wrong for saying that. I just feel passionately about my position on this. And you can feel passionately about yours. I just don't want to see people waste their money donating to a candidate when that money could be going to things that are going to actually affect change in a positive way. And I get you can spend your money however you want. It's been so disappointing to me to see people send money to people like Joshua for Congress. Do you remember that motherfucker? And for them to, not even really try. Third-party candidate would have to have legendary appeal to majority of the country in a grassroots campaign unprecedented in American politics. Exactly. Trump is better than Ron DeSantis. I'll say that. Trump is better than Ron DeSantis. I would rather have Trump than Ron DeSantis. I have no issue saying that. I believe that with 100%, 1000%. DeSantis is worse than Trump. I believe that with my whole heart. Trump is funny, okay? If nothing else, he has one thing going for him, and it's that he's unintentionally very funny. Thank you, Vacant Zero. Trump looking straight at the eclipse was one of the funniest things I've ever seen. Him looking at the eclipse without the eclipse glasses, staring at it with his 2 eyes, was funny as fuck. It was hysterical. It was so funny. It was so funny. Nipples protruding, disgusting, is one of the funniest things I've ever read. And then he pointed, right. He's staring straight at the eclipse. The eclipse was the best thing ever. I like how he kept looking back up at it. Right. I used to joke that like, it was the way he did it. He was like, you're staring in the sun. So dumb. It's funny. It's so stupid. It's hysterical. How are you that dumb? And also the president of the United States. It's horrifying. It's also funny. I hate it, but also it makes me laugh. I'm mortified and also cracking up.